Good afternoon. Welcome, Gary. Um, so tonight we're going to finish up our budget workshop. You'll hear from the other department heads as far as development goes, public works, legislative, administrative, water, and wastewater. Bernie will take care of the development. Raymond will take care of public works. Excuse me, water and wastewater. Candy will take care of. Candy's not taking care of legislative and administrative. I guess I'll take care of legislative and administrative. Um, uh, Alicia can do a legislative. Um, so we'll just pick up where we left off from 2 weeks ago. When we last talked, the one thing we talked about was the tax rate. Talking to a number of council members the last 2 weeks, I think one of the goals that we want to have in the next hour or so is we'd like to have a budget pretty much put together to where we can present to the public later this week and have them time to contemplate it for the first public hearing on September the 10th, the second public hearing on September the 17th, and then for adoption on the 24th. And so this is a meats and potatoes type of budget, so there's not a whole lot to cut. The big question we're going to have tonight, like every other community out here, is what do you want to do on your tax rate and how much revenue do you want to generate? So without further ado, I'll give you Assistant City Manager Bernie Parker.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. The budget I'd like to present to you guys tonight for development looks exactly pretty much like it did last year. Based on our projected revenue that we'll have coming in in 2019-20, as far as when it deals with your revenue, your building permits, is in my best estimate, it's going to be on par for what we did this year. So, give you some indication, what we did was ran some numbers on our commercial residential permits. We did about 62 this year to date. And so we collected a revenue about 182,000, so a little bit over 175 is what we did. And also, you can go through here our plan review, well applications, on-site sanitary sewer permits. Obviously, they fluctuate. On well permits, we don't know what we have. I'm very conservative. One well permit's $1,500. I think this year we had 3 come in, so that's $4,500 revenue we had. On our sewer septic system permits, we had about 12 come in, and also our fire alarms. That is all predicated off of commercial development. Fire alarms, we in-house chief and our fire inspector, they review those plans, both fire alarms and fire sprinklers. So again, as long as your commercial development is up, then you'll see a higher increase in that. I'd say very conservative with about $1,000. But in times past, we collected about 3,000, 2,500, about 5,500 on those this year. So just to let everyone know, as far as in development, we do have myself and one other staff member, plus our consultant, Betty Chu, is out of this fund, as well as you'll see a line item on there for consultants. That is Bureau Veritas, whom we use for inspections and also plan review, which is our third-party company that we use. That comes out of this budget as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions that Mayor Council would have at this time.
Good job, Bernie.
Thank you.
Nobody has anything? Thank you.
Let you go.
Mr. Raymond.
All right, good evening. We'll start off with Public Works. Really no major changes in the budget, other than Fund 58-260. You'll see we had an increase there $23,000. That's to insulate the Public Works shop area. There's no insulation in there, so
You're going to do foam insulation on
foam
it?
insulation, spray in foam. We did install heaters this year, so now we're going to put the foam insulation now. But and we had put a dump truck in the Public Works, but we need to move that over to the water fund. So, was there any questions on any of the numbers? Public Works.
Have we ordered the dump truck or we're waiting to order?
We're waiting. We haven't ordered it.
Okay.
We're
So-
replacing a 97.
When you say you're moving the dump truck, so it's in the Public Works now, and when you cover water, it'll be,
It'd be under the water. We use it in the water, fixing water leaks. I think the dump truck we have now is assigned to the street department, which we don't use.
And we don't have that, obviously, we got it in, we don't have it in your updated water budget yet. We just made that change, maybe in
okay. So it's all in Public Works right now.
It's all in public
And you're gonna
works.
split, so this number will go down.
This number will go down and the excess surplus, if you
will go
will.
to water.
Yeah.
Got it. But it matches right now,
Yes.
because it's not
Yep.
Yep.
a change to be made.
So at the end of next year, you're expecting what's your total outcome?
Revenue or,
So it says here, going to be minus $551,299.
okay.
Well, there's no revenue. It was
You don't-
all negative.
Yeah, you don't have revenue in here. Your revenue budget, oh, that's public works, yes, I'm
Right.
sorry. I was thinking water.
Water.
That's public works. Public works does not generate any revenue.
Right, but you don't give Public Works a budget, to start with?
It'll
But-
be 500.
It'll-
500 this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 551,299. There's no, the way they do it is, the way STW does it.
Right.
They'll say each department, do you generate any revenue? If you don't, then your
Higher budget.
your entire budget's negative.
Okay. I'll reserve my question.
But
for later.
but you end up paying for it out of
Right.
the revenue funds at the front page of general fund, of M&O, taxes.
Thank you, Brian. Yep.
Anything else for Raymond?
On that one? If not, we'll move to the water budget.
Okay.
Y'all should have an updated water budget separate from what you got last week. The only substantial change that we made was we punched up the revenue numbers. We added about 5% to this year's estimated revenues. We just think that with the wet season that we had, we think an extra 100,000 sustainable.
On the water budget, the only really major change was Fund 58410, lab testing. All our water samples used to go under the sewer budget. We moved them over to the correct place, the water budget, when we take our monthly back T samples and water line, water well samples. So, but other than that, all the numbers are pretty much in line with last year. Was there any questions on the water budget at all?
So, yeah, I haven't had time to look at this. We got anything in for new meters?
For new water, for capital improvements,
Yeah.
replacement,
So water meters does not fall under the water budget?
there's a capital improvement, that would be a capital improvement that we have a supplemental CIP budget, but it's not funded per se. We are holding off on meters until we're done with the well rehab. I think we're going to have cash to pay for the new water meters out of that $1.5 million CD that we had a couple of years ago.
Right.
We've been spending it down doing well replacement and well rehab. I think we're going to have about $500,000 left over out of it to buy water meters with. This water meters are not reflected in this budget as far as the CIP.
Not a total replacement.
When will we know, like, when are we done with the well improvement?
We have 11.
Yeah, finishing 11 in Fox Hunting,
Yes.
them two. And then we just had another one go down on us and we're fixing to rehab it. So it'll be about 40,000 for it.
So that's it for what we have planned for that.
Right now.
What do, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, that was that answer.
What are we at capacity now per day?
Almost 1.5.
Oh, a little higher than that, probably.
Hmm?
Oh, we were higher than that.
We will be once the Fox Hunting 11's
Okay.
going. Yeah,
Very
we will
good.
be.
We already put all our new Trinity wells in the ground, all of our new wells.
Not yet.
Not
They're
yet?
still getting
Yep.
samples and electrical finished on
Okay.
11. Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
they're drilled, but
They're drilled and
not
waiting
online.
on, waiting on electrical and then the water, the chemical analysis to be completed. Yeah.
Okay.
What's been the highest take?
Usage day.
1.3 something. Yeah, we hit 1.3 one day this month. Been consistent at 1.27, 1.25, 1.24, you know, so
So 11 not being online is not hurting us.
No. pumping some good water in August.
Very good.
Mhm.
Thanks for what you guys do, Raymond.
Thank you.
Gary, did you have any?
No, not yet. I'll have some later.
Right. Well, we can switch over to the wastewater. You'll see chemical, a lot of change there from 15,000 to 60,000. That's due to the alum we have to use to meet the phosphorus removal. We use about 40 gallons a day, plus our polymers went up because our sludge has increased due to the alum. So that's going to be our number this year. We project it. Chemicals, how they went up.
Alum went up.
But we used to didn't use alum.
Okay.
Now that we have a new
That-
plant,
That's
we
going
have
to pull
the
the
phosphorus.
phosphate.
It pulls the phosphorus out of the water. Right.
That's going to help the quality. Water overall.
Downstream it
Downstream.
does.
Yeah.
Downstream it does,
Yeah.
yes. And so, but with the alum, it produces more sludge. More sludge, you have to run the belt press more. You have more polymer.
What's the maximum capacity of the discharge permit?
500,000. And then you'll see we put some. We're going to be doing some TV and smoke testing. We got quite a bit of I&I out in the system. We need to start addressing.
They didn't help with that either, did they?
Also, our lab testing increased. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was thinking over there at the Beaver Dam. There for a while, that was.
Yeah.
So I hadn't been able.
No, I think a lot of it's coming from McCall Elementary behind that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, we think we got some back
some leakage back there. That
Yeah.
water that seeps through.
there. Mm-hmm.
All this time, I've been told it.
Well, it could have been, but I think all this, you don't see it there right now.
Yeah.
So.
Huh.
'Cause the manholes are pretty high,
Yeah.
like this high.
Yeah.
The lab testing, we're having to do more samples due to the phosphorus. And the sludge hauling, you can see, is increased.
We're having color. The first page of the colors of the columns, green and blue, those. Just confirming that the second pages, the green is the current one, the
The-
right-hand column is the proposed budget.
We do have that reversed.
Okay.
Yes. Right-hand column is the proposed
Is the
budget.
proposed
Yeah.
So the green on the second.
on the second, yeah.
Subsequent pages,
Yeah.
the green is the 2020.
Yes. I didn't,
I've
I've been staring at them.
I've been looking at it, just not even paying attention until he asked what it was.
I apologize.
All right, well, that's the sewer budget. If there's any questions on any of that, anything else is in line with last year.
You're expecting to take a little bit less revenue in?
Slightly less.
How's that? How do y'all figure that out? You don't need to. How you figure?
Your user charges will tend to, you expect 3 to 5% increase in that. Your meter fees, if you're not adding as many sewer connections as you did before, that's going to change. We went, and just like every other revenue, we go very low. I meant to ask, has Bernie left yet? Okay. We have a lot coming online. If y'all remember the discussion from 2 weeks ago, it's when's it going to get here? Well, we know that Wilkes has 120 residences coming in. We just don't know if that's going to be this fiscal year or the next fiscal year when it is. When you're looking at your meter fees and your user charges, you kind of have to guess when this stuff's actually going to. We feel a little bit more confident about about Wilkes than I do some other developments.
We've got our user charges.
Yeah. Again, I could probably punch that up to an even number. I mean,
Impact fees. What's coming on?
yeah, exactly, and it goes to that. It goes to that point of we don't know when's.
Right.
You know, I will always go caution on that. And you know, we may get it. Here's how this works. If we sit there and say we're going to get all these fees, but we don't get them until September 20th. You know, it comes in on this year's fiscal budget, but it doesn't really help us out. So Bernie and I had a lot of discussion on impact. He's cautious. He's the analogy we had the other day. He's overly cautious, and I'm cautious. I'll go. We'll find someplace that is overly cautious. Clear as mud.
Good.
Thanks, Brandon.
Yeah.
Alicia, did you want to do legislative real quick, or you want me to do it?
There really aren't any changes from last year. I am requesting some office equipment, laptop for Rose, me, because we do work out of the house a lot and you need something that's reliable, those things. But other than that, it's pretty much the exact same budget from last year. I did lower ours gifts and plaques by $1,000. Other than that, unless you have any questions.
On the salary,
So, in the legislative? Do what?
No, it's increased.
showing, am I on the right one, administrative?
No,
No.
legislative.
Legislative.
Well, maybe that's fine.
It's only $650.
I was going to say, you can
Dollars.
increase it all you want.
Sorry.
I'm here
That
for you.
means you panic,
I
though,
thought
when
she
he
said
said
administrative.
I know. I was like, do I need to know something?
Okay.
Get my resume updated.
This is legislative, okay. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
sir.
Okay.
It's still a $400 decrease, but it's coming.
Yes. We actually overestimated our health insurance costs. Nancy Johnson, who is our insurance broker, actually got us a reduction or not as much of an increase. I guess that's the closest thing to reduction now in health insurance. We estimated a 10% increase, and it was I was 4. Yeah.
Very good. Andy, thank you. Lisa?
So administrative, which is the first tab. I think to answer part of Gary's question, if you notice, you'll see all the revenues there. M&O, sales, mixed beverage. That all gets you about 2.6. You have another, we did not really go up on franchise fees at all. Mainly because, quite frankly, we're seeing less franchise fees in some areas. And that's that what used to be solid every year you'll get this franchise fee money. You're not seeing near as much as you used to. So we just decided to cut even on it. We also did some other things on our investments as well. If you look, and so to answer your question on salaries, you'll notice that in the salaried issues, as far as my salary, Bernie's salary, Andy's salary, and Rosa's salary, that is all split between general fund and water fund.
Okay.
It's split 50-50. The justification for that is 50% of what I do, 50% of what Bernie does. Surely, probably more than 50% of what Candy does. What Rose does is water related. So we decided, when I said 2 weeks ago, we trued up the expenses. That's what we were talking.
Is the tech support increase what we're talking about this evening? Software tech support, or is that what we did?
Software tech supports Maverick.
Okay.
What we did is
Right.
Encode.
Okay.
In Encode, while we're on that, and we can talk about it during the council meeting, but what Encode is, it's not just the servers. It's court, it's utility billing, it's payroll. What other module did we get? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You'll be able to do your permits online now. You can come and pull those. It'll be more user-friendly for everybody. STW is a good product, and I think it probably served the city well. Correct me if I'm wrong, y'all were on QuickBooks before STW. So you've kind of graduated from QuickBooks to STW to now it's kind of do the industry standard of Encode. But you already approved that almost over a year ago. Everything else is basically the same in your in the admin budget.
What do we pay for kilowatts with TXU? Anyone know?
We're with Gexa. We're not with TXU anymore. We moved over to Gexa 3 years ago.
Okay.
I have to look and see what we're paying for kilowatt.
Okay.
On this AT&T of 70K, we approved Linksys to use our water tower, and and in lieu of them paying us rent on that, was that they were going to provide us with internet service.
Yes.
What happened to that?
We're still working on that. I think what the initial plan was to put it over here in this, if this was going to be developed into a park area. When we do the playground, I want to try to get the Wi-Fi at that playground over there off of the public safety building.
Okay. But their antenna's already,
It's at the water tower.
yeah, it's at the water tower.
Yeah.
So it's just sitting there, and we're paying AT&T and waiting.
We don't pay, this
We
is what
don't
we,
pay.
we're not paying AT&T.
Well-
This is what we collect.
Well, excuse me. Excuse me. Yes. My bad. I'm a bit tired.
I understand.
A lot going on today.
Yeah. But these are the franchise fees that people pay for landlines primarily.
Yeah. I'm clocking with that.
Yeah.
I just was wondering why we weren't using Linksys yet for our, that's what I was asking about.
And we can revisit the Linksys lease, and if we need to charge them rent, we can. The rent won't be substantial on it.
No,
but-
and I was excited
Yeah.
because I thought, oh, great, they're going to provide this for us because we'll be able to.
I
save
don't
a
know if the
significant
speed is
amount of
what,
money
I don't know if
on
the speed's
our
what we need to do what we have here as far as the live streaming, as far as what we need at City Hall with invariably 20 people on the internet at one time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they can provide that speed.
Well, whenever you put it in front of us, I looked at the speeds, and the speeds were the same as AT&T. I remember asking you about that.
Yeah, but we've seen some internet issues with what we have here right now. Part of the technical issues that we had 2 weeks ago was
Well,
that,
everybody has
Yeah.
issues with AT&T. That's another crap TNT.
I understand.
They're junk. But, okay.
I understand. Yes.
So, going to the salaries that you split 50/50, when you look at the water budget, that's the significant increase.
Yes.
We're not adding
We're not adding staff. That's,
like 3 people.
no, no,
But
no.
so that was part of that.
Yes.
Anything else for Brian on administrative?
Sorry.
All right, Mr. Grimes next.
So, Gary, have I answered your questions?
Not yet, but we'll get there. We're okay.
Okay. The $64,000 question, or in this case, is this yours? This is mine. In this case, the $57,000 question is the budget that we have in here has a rate increase of 3.5% of M&O, about 1.5, and I'll true that number up to an actual 1.5 number, but it's, I think it's 1,500, 1,503,000 and change. And I'll put that true number in there, but this is just a good estimate. If what y'all want to do on this one particular number really determines what we do with the budget from here on out. If you want to go up to the 7.9, and I believe y'all have a chart, not the one with the pie charts, but the other table. If you look, if you go to 7.9, you'll add another 57,000 to your revenues. Your deficit right now in the general fund, as it stands, well, if you take the dump truck out, your deficit's $15,000. And we can cut 15,000 here and there in the budget and firm that up. It's really what y'all want to do.
I think we may be, I've talked with other cities, and the 7.9% is what, the 57,000 will help us move faster to hiring firemen or public works or whatever we need. It'll get us there faster. And we're not, it's not a lot of money, but it'll help us get there faster.
And to clear up some of the language for some of the people who may be seeing 7.9% increase on our taxes, it's not a 7.9% increase
On the rate.
on like our rate is right now is 0.5367. What we have to call the 7.9 to get us that additional revenue, it would go up to
0.5401.
0.5401. So it would go up 0.01.
0.0034 to be
Yeah.
exact.
0.0034.
Not a big number, but
But
it will help us.
yes, it will help us. I'm just trying and offer a little bit of explanation because whenever you see that big of a number, it sounds daunting, but that's not not a 7.99%.
Brian, you're saying, because of the table I'm looking at, we're looking at of what we have presented with a deficit, like assuming you cut and move and fix your deficit, 0.5286 is a total compared to our 0.5367 for a total with INS and M&O added together.
What you have in there right now is 3.5%.
Right, and that is a total, the M and O at
Yes.
3.5% is 0.2837,
Mm-hmm.
and your INS
With a buy down
with the buy down,
is
and I'm using 160K, is 2499,
yes,
and you end up with 0.5286.
yes.
And you're saying the total rate, if we go the 7.9, is is that the 5401 you just said?
5401, yes.
Which is more than last year's total rate.
That is, yes, by 0.0034,
Right.
which is, I guess, 34 10,000ths of a penny.
And that's doable. That's very doable.
Now, we got to hear this breakdown before we got to hear from Chief Lenore. Is Chief Lenore going to give another one tonight, or no? No. Okay, so there have been no changes from?
There's been no changes in those two budgets.
Okay.
The couple of questions that we got in from folks, I think it's important to know, and this is what this chart is for right here.
Yes, I requested that too.
The numbers you have over there are your total expense of about $4,014,567. I have an M&O tax, and I already have 3.5% in there, and I got a sales tax of 1.15. Total revenues is 2.652. Those are your tax revenues. That doesn't include your development fees. That doesn't include the franchise fees. That's just tax revenues. Your police and fire total public safety expenditures is 2.488. Well, 166% of your M&O taxes are going to go to public safety. So M&O is going to cover basically one department and a little bit of another. But the number you really want to look to is total tax revenue to public safety expenditures.
Yeah.
So 94% of the total tax revenue is going to public safety. And so that is obviously that's a significant amount of your tax dollars going in. Now again, that doesn't include development. That doesn't include the franchise fees.
We're looking at what comes out of the private man's pocket.
Yeah.
We're looking at what comes out of my pocket, out of Greg's pocket, out of
If you're in
Hannah's pocket.
if you're a resident of Willow Park, you pay property taxes. We're estimating that the M&O tax will be anywhere from 1.5 million to 1.55 million, somewhere in that number.
Yeah.
That in of itself would pay for the police department and a little bit of the fire department. When you add in sales tax, which is what it's hard to quantify, but obviously you're going to have people from out of town come in and spend money. But when you add in sales tax to that, that gets you to 2.6. Your total public safety budget between the two is 2.4. That's 94%.
To raise, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all right. I'm glad you could work this up because I wanted people to be able to see how much. 94%
Of the tax dollars.
of the tax dollars goes for fire and PD. It's not going any other crazy places, and we don't even have enough to cover all that. That's where the sales tax comes in. So that's why the sales tax is so important.
Yes.
For us to attract the businesses and get that sales tax pumping out. And we are in such an advantage being on the interstate, and the interstate is separate from most of the big homes. And that's what's going to be our bread and butter, and that's what's going to enable us to get more firefighters, to get the equipment we need, to be a grown-up city without having to tax anybody because we're doing right by the people here.
What?
Can I ask for a clarification? We went over Public Works. Last year, we put $100,000 for roads with an interlocal agreement with the county. Is that included in
Yes.
the Public Works? Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay, it is there at the very last.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Yeah.
So we do have
That
public safety funded, the same as last year, and road improvements,
Yes.
other than the Ranch House
Yeah.
project.
Yeah, that is, to get to Gary's point about the meters, why the meters wasn't included as a capital expenditure, but this is included as a capital expenditure. $100,000 is not really enough to go take a debt out
Big
for.
chunk. Right,
I mean,
absolutely.
you're going to have $60,000 in just origination fees.
Right.
So 100,000 in road is different than say 3, 4, 500,000 that we already have in a CD for meters.
So raising the tax rate 0.0034 will generate an additional $57,000.
Yes, sir.
So going back to what the mayor just said, so you're saying that to get to 7.9% increase in revenue, right, is not going to be covered by the increase in property value?
I'm
The 7.9, the difference there, he's talking about the way that the way that the 7.9% is computed is the property values have increased. That's what he's asking to.
So that 7.9%,
I can ask my question.
the
Yeah,
7.9% increase is actual revenue increase. So your revenues are going to go up 7.9% from the initial we collected $1,451,391 last year. So $1,560,245 is a 7.9% increase from what you collected.
It's not they're going up 7.9%. It's just
well,
What's the expected property value?
The expected property values
Yeah, or what are we computing on?
for M&O,
Yes.
your M&O property value is $476,376.87.
and how much of that is over 65?
None of it.
None of it. Okay.
That number does not include your tax ceiling, which is your over 65, nor does it include new value.
Okay.
So when you take those two off, you're taking 126 million off of the certified value. So you get 476, 376, 087.
The 376,087
So-
is the net.
476?
Mm-hmm.
That's the gross, and then the over 65.
Over 65 is not
Well, what was
included.
the 126 you were telling me?
So the over 65 gets calculated in after.
Okay.
That's
This is-
that.
This is
This
the-
was the math we did last time.
This was the math we did last
Gotcha.
time. Yeah.
Gotcha.
The over 65 gets calculated because you have a tax levy of $323,425 that gets split between interest and sinking and M&O. So depending on what your ratio is where that number is, which is why I have 3.5 and 7.9. We can go anywhere in between, but it changes your ratios up.
I think in the next year or two, there's going to be some, we'll have additional challenges by what the legislature did. And I think it's even being conservative that we probably take this to the 5401 this year.
Well, I'm going to state, I've said this many times to Brian, so I know he knows my position. I don't favor anything over last year's rate. I prefer something below last year's total rate, whether it's 3.5%, but I don't favor going up to the full 7.9 when that takes us over. That's an increase when we had property values increase. So our citizens are already going to see an impact because their values went up. My personal value went up 10%. So taxing at the same rate taxes them higher with the value increase for most of our citizens. So I really don't see that it's necessary for us to go anywhere over what we taxed a total rate of last year. Obviously, we have to all work together to come up, but that's my position, is that we can make a budget work with last year's rate or below.
If we don't
Good point.
take action this year, we'll be further behind next year. And I think we'll be worse off next year. I mean, to me, it's negligible.
I think the property value increase is what's helping us, and it will help next year too. And I know that it's a 3.5%. At this point, next year won't affect us. It's the year after that, when legislature can put it to smaller cities without the exemption that we have currently.
If that happens.
Keeping it at
Right.
0.53, what percentage increases that?
So you
What's
actually
that
did,
average
Technically.
number?
Yeah, technically.
so if you, at a 3.5%, you would have an M&O rate of 0.2837, and a total tax rate of 0.5286, and you would actually lower the tax rate 81/10,000ths of a penny.
But I'm saying if it. if
She's
we
saying
kept
what's the
it at
percentage
what's-
increase to say
To say,
0.5367?
to keep it at, keep it at
If I
0.5367.
can
What's
restate.
that percentage?
Oh,
Yeah.
what would that M&O rate be?
It's somewhere between
No,
3.5
the percentage
and
increase
7.
between 3.5 and 7%. Go pull up
Somewhere
my
in
calculator, I guess I can.
I'm
do
sorry,
it
I'm sorry.
myself.
Hold on, let's talk one at a time.
So you're looking for the percentage increase.
If the technical percentage increase, if we keep it at 0.53, because the other two budgets I've done, we've been able to keep it at 0.53. Leah said that she supports
I see what you're
that.
saying.
Yes.
I support
I-
that also.
What's the middle ground?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want the rate?
No.
Rate or dollars, if we're looking at $57,000,
57,000. You'll generate an extra $28,500 if you hit the middle ground. Your rate will probably, yeah, you're going to be right around 53 because you're at point. Give me 2 minutes real quick. You're looking, you will increase, you're going to be right at even at 28,000. So if you keep the tax rate the same, it's going to change everything up, but you'll generate roughly an extra 28,000.
But that's. a good
I'd say
middle ground.
25,000 because you're going to have some, INS is going to go up a little bit and interest, or excuse me, M&O will go down.
So my question,
Yes, sir.
what are you multiplying the tax rate against?
So you multiply the tax rate against, you want to multiply it at 3.5% or 7.9?
No. Our current tax rate is 0.53, whatever.
No, that's both.
Bro, yeah, what are you multiplying that against?
You would,
it's two separate.
It's
you
two
have to do it
separate form-
There's two different numbers.
Pick a number, what are you multiplying it against?
for M&O, I'm at 7.9, I'm multiplying it by 2.2952, and for 3.5, I'm multiplying it by 0.2837.
And INS is another.
INS is calculated differently than M&O. INS has a whole other value number
different
that you go off.
They use two different property values for
Right.
each of those rates.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take it off.
Well, I want to answer the question. I'm not trying
Well,
to.
it's going to take a little bit, so I'd rather just go on and I'll figure it out.
Okay. If you take 476,376,087, you multiply it by 0.2952, that's going to generate $1,406,262.
Okay, so I'll stop you there.
Okay?
Where'd you get that $476,367,087?
Larry Hammond.
Okay, and that's for this coming year's projected
Yes.
value, right?
That's not projected, that's certified value.
Right. So what was last year?
Last year's value was 518 was a certified. I think it was 400. Well, actually, I got it. 425,536,176.
Those are the numbers I was looking
Okay. The reason, and here's where the math got interesting last week. You're going to generate 1.4 million off of that 29 cents, 29.5 cents. But what Larry and the tax office does is they take that 323,000, then they add that into that number, and that gets you an extra 176,000 on top of the 1.4. That gets your M&O levy at $1,583,035. Then for budgeting purposes, I take 98.5% of that number because they never collect 100%.
Right.
And that gets you $1,559,289.61. That's about as close as I want to get to the $1,560,245.
And our current M&O rate is 0.34137.
Our current M&O rate is 0.3084. Your interest and sinking rate is 2283, and you're looking to increase it to 2449. And that, and the interest and sinking rate, I've got the same in both. It's the M&O rate that we're talking about.
Well, I'm interested. Greg, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think what Doyle's plan is probably the right way to go, because we've got to position ourselves to be careful in out years. And so I think the plan to go with the additional increase is what we need to do. However, we work as a team, right?
We do.
I think this cap is, I mean, it's not, it's indirectly affecting us. It's not directly affecting us, it's indirectly affecting us. And I just think it's something that we need to be, I think taking it up to 5401, I think is being more proactive than it is anything for the city. I don't know of another city in Parker County that's staying at the 3.5%. And I'm not doing it because everybody's doing it. I'm just thinking of public safety, and down the road, in 2 years, what the legislature does, who knows what the heck they're going to do. I mean, we lobbied hard against this cap. It didn't work. So that's what my thoughts are. And like I said, we're as a team. We'll whatever the council decides is what we'll go with. But that's what I'm hoping we do.
Well, the state baited the cities.
Well, I don't want to get into the politics of the
But
rates.
no,
What I look at when we talk about the other cities, the county, everyone else is able to go down on their rate and go up to 7.9%. We're talking about going above our rate and going to 7.9%. So I understand that's based on positions of where we are with our INS and other things, but it's a different argument, in my opinion, to say that we want to increase our total rate to the max allowed when other groups are doing it, but they're also able to lower their rate and do that. So I don't know of any other group that's not lowering their total rate.
And let me pose this question. Would this even be a debate if the state hadn't put this cap thing, telling us that we're going to have to stay within it? If this legislation had never happened, I guarantee you we would be looking at, okay, what do we need to do to keep the tax rate the same? What do we need to do to keep it at 0.5367 that it currently is at? So what the rest of the cities are doing, be damned. What would we be doing if this was not hanging above our heads? Yes, it's the reality of what's to come, what they're going to try to do in the future to cities. But if we just factor all that out, I know that I would be looking at keeping the tax rate the same the way I've been able the other 2 years that I've been on council. I think it's a good middle ground.
Mr. Grimes, anything else?
I just need direction from council. I mean, that's because what you do with that number determines what we can do moving forward. We're obviously not setting a tax rate tonight, but I guess the question becomes, to Amy's point, and I think that's probably the question I've been asking through this entire process. I've been kind of surprised to see people go up to the 7.9. I think a lot of people are doing that for different reasons. I think the county does it for a different reason than the city of Aledo does it, because everybody's different. We've got more interest in sinking. We are investing back into our community in a number of ways that maybe some of the other entities are not. I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze on any of this, but that's why y'all get paid the big bucks.
So, question, Brian. So, what did you show for our M&O take-in at the current tax rate?
Your actual in 2018 was $1,451,391.
That was for last year?
That's the current year we're in right now.
And for this budget coming up, you're showing what?
For 3.5.
No. If we did it at our current tax rate.
If we did the current tax rate, at the current tax rate at 3,084, oh, you would bring in far more than 7.9. You would bring in almost 1.6, 1.7 million, which exceeds your 7.9 increase in revenue. Your values went up, so that made your rate come down. Your effective tax rate is around, to bring in the same amount of revenue, I think is around 26 cents.
Let me do some more figuring.
Okay. I will say this. I'm going to give you pros and cons on both. I don't have a vote, but I know y'all are all going to look at us as staff.
Pros and cons on both being the 3.5% versus 7.9%.
Yep. Pros and cons, and then to your point, the same, which I think is a great idea. It's the middle ground.
3 proposals.
3.5%. You probably, you're not really. You're adding another, 50,000 to the take. That's one fireman's salary, right? But that doesn't include the bennies to hire the firemen. 7.9, you're going to add roughly another 115,000 plus or minus to the take. That's 2 firemen, but again, that doesn't include all the other things that you need. What 7.9 does is it gets you further down 12 months from now than where you need to be. If you did 3.5% this year, I just ran those numbers. If you did 3.5% this year, and you did so if you did 3.5% this year, you're looking at, and you did 3.5% next year, you're going to add another $52,000 next year. So you're either adding
With no
yeah.
growth.
Yeah, that assumes no growth because I don't know what that value number is
Right.
yet. Obviously, you're going to have growth. I mean, as much as we like to harp on the development, we know that at some point you don't go and invest millions of dollars and not actually do something with it. So you will have growth next year. I like the idea of keeping the rate the same. You're going to bring in probably around 75,000 off the take right now. It's not the full max. You keep the rate the same. But then I look at it and I go, if you're going to go up to 0.5367, what's 34/10,000ths of a penny more? The old adage used to be, you never went up to the rollback rate. That was the old adage. I think everybody 5 years ago would shriek in fear of going up to 7.9. I think the intent of the legislation was to bait cities into going up to 7.9 so the legislature can come back and hammer us in 2 years. I think you're going to get hammered no matter what. They don't have a way to fund teacher salaries past August of 2021, so we're going to make a convenient scapegoat again in 2 years. We can make this work. I talked to staff this morning about it. Property taxes is what everybody focuses on, and rightly so. I pay them here, and I hate it. I can't tell you what percentage of my mortgage payment goes to taxes. My wife can. I cannot. But I know it's incredibly high. But we also have other revenue streams that are growing at a much faster rate, such as sales tax. That's growing at a faster rate. Development fees are going to grow faster in 1 year clips than your property taxes do. At the end of the day, we're arguing over $50,000 in a $3 million budget. And I don't mean to slight the M&O or the taxes that are going to be collected, but that's, if you just look at a number on the spreadsheet, we're arguing over $50,000 in a $3 million budget. So, Gary, you have a question?
Not yet. Still working numbers.
So how do you want us to come up with this directive? I mean, we don't, this is, we're not making a motion to adopt anything, but we're clearly have 3 different ideas here.
How about a request that you give us something that works within the 5367 total? You got to break it out, however you got to do.
Can you get the deficit down?
Yeah.
With only 28K additional
Oh, yeah.
from what we've said?
Yeah. I can get your deficit down at 3.5. I mean, it's just,
If need be, but we could have,
I mean, I can get
But
you
we
home.
have,
we're
kind of
things we need to
split.
do.
I know.
Say
I
we're
mean,
split
we
between
have
7.9.
If the deficit you have right now is the big concern, don't let that be the issue for you, because I can get that down to 0. That's not a problem.
But we do need to maintain a certain amount of growth with our tax revenue in order to keep up with the growth. Because it's not like, we're already behind. Our fire department's very young. I've only lived here 5 years, and I was at the council meeting when they approved it.
Well, I thought you were talking about Mike's age. He was about to get all happy.
No. But I think that middle ground, you're talking about making up a deficit. Having this middle ground, huh?
I am. I don't know. Ryan seems fine with it, but we're giving him that task. So.
But what I'm saying is that it's more than a deficit. It's looking at generating
Yes.
what we need to do. And I look at, like, out of my pocket, what do I need to do in order to make sure I have fire service? Make sure I have PD service. And so
I suggest you buy burgers at Whataburger.
I was at the brewery last night with pizza and beer.
That was my statement, that I think this 7.9, it moves us further along, faster along to add firemen. That's my point. I mean, do we need to do it? Do we have to do it? No. But that was my argument, that it moves us along faster. But like I said, I don't have a vote. It's whatever the council decides, and we don't have to make that decision this evening.
What?
Any other? Go ahead.
You have a question?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Come on, Gary. You got 30 minutes, baby.
One more thing.
I know.
What I'll do is I'll put a revised budget in with a middle ground.
Okay.
I'll put a revised budget in with middle ground of, I'll calculate what the M&O will be with the interest and sinking at 0.2449. So that'll keep the tax rate the same. And I'll put that M&O number into the general fund, admin budget for revenues. That's where they are. Then I will give you a zero budget, a zero deficit budget. Sorry, guys.
What is it?
That's my daughter telling me it's time for cheerleading. Hi, Scarlett. I I'll give you a .5367 total rate and what that will generate on M&O. I'll also be able to cut the general fund to a net zero at that point. I can probably have that for you by Friday. Obviously, that's not something we can discuss as a group, but that's what I can do moving forward unless y'all give me a directive another way.
So the interest in sinking has to stay at 2499 to make what we need to make.
Your interest in sinking can go, this is where it gets really interesting. Because they use a completely different number to calculate interest in sinking. You have a fund balance in your interest in sinking fund of about $335,000. So what we're doing is we're buying part of that. Our interest in sinking burden this year is $1.5 million. We're buying that down 150. Well, it depends on what we do.
Buying the excess down.
Yeah,
yes.
we're buying the excess down, anywhere from 155 to 160,000.
Right.
That'll keep your interest in sinking rate at 0.2449. That was the one steady that I could do, because every time you change that rate, you change in what you bring in on M&O.
Right.
And so I hadn't heard anything from y'all not buying that rate down and keeping it up, which I would recommend that we do use some of that to pay off some of the debt.
Well, I recommend that too.
Yeah.
Because any excess sitting in that
It
doesn't
just
get you anything.
Doesn't do
We
anything
can't
for
draw
you.
interest, we can't do anything with it.
Now, what I'd like to do, I want to keep some money in there, because you're going to have,
Up to,
yeah, I want to keep something in there. The other thing about doing .2449, Leah and I were discussing this the other day, is next year, your debt burden, if you do not add any debt this year, next year's debt burden actually goes down the way some of the debt's structured. So you'll actually drop 100,000, 150,000 next year. Then in the year after that, so that would be 20 and 21, you're actually going to come back up. So I think you can keep this .2449 this year, next year, and probably the year after that.
yeah, I'm all for that part.
Okay. So once you establish your interest in sinking, then the M&O becomes a lot easier to calculate.
So if we go with a .2499 INS, then that leaves you a .2868 for M&O to stay at the same tax rate.
Thanks. Yeah. Apparently, you just did the math for me. And if I had my laptop here, I could tell you exactly what that would generate.
And that should generate you 1.297909.
The problem is that you change the formula on your tax levy.
Yeah.
That 323 is constant, and it changed. So as you change that M&O rate, it's going to change the percentages that it feeds into. So it may not be .2867. It may be .2863 or 2871, something like that.
Okay. I'm on the right track.
Anything else?
Yes, I'd like, well, at the offsite, we discussed some projects, and one of them being a roads project that I'm getting a lot of good feedback on Ranch House. People like what they're seeing. And so we identified several roads that I'd like for us to start looking at rebuilding. Squaw Creek, Sand Bass, and a connector from White Settlement Road all the way down to the interstate, probably Crown, and extending Ranch House all the way up to Vista. And so what I'd like for staff to look at for next year is what those costs are going to look like, because we should have great data from just having finished Ranch House, and what some options are for financing that effort.
Okay. So you're talking about.
That effort.
You're not talking about just simple road rehab. You're talking
No,
complete
big.
road reconstruction
Yes.
Ranch House Road type reconstruction.
Yeah.
on Squaw Creek and Crown, all the way up to
Squaw
White
Creek,
Settlement.
Crown,
Squaw Creek,
Sand Bass, and
Kingsgate.
extending Ranch House all the way to Vista.
Kingsgate needs to be hit too.
That'll probably be. I think Kingsgate absolutely.
It has to, that
Has-
road's gonna fall down.
I'm just spitballing a price, so don't even.
Sure.
You're probably in the $10 to $12 million range. That would absolutely require a GO. I would not feel comfortable issuing a certificate of obligation on that. I'd want to take that to the voters. That's a huge number. It would be roughly adding 50% to your total deficit right now. But I think we have some things that'll be paid off in the next 2 to 3 years. That if you structured it properly and you financed it long term, you could probably make that work.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's impossible today.
No, it's definitely needed. I
But,
mean,
you know, just for planning purposes, in the
Yes.
coming months, we can start looking at that, what those numbers look like, and a plan around that.
Sure. I'll get Derek and Bernie and Ramon. You feel like driving a little bit? We'll definitely, I think they're needed. I think Squaw Creek's needed. I know Crown is. One of the issues, and I just want to believe it, one of the issues with Crown is that Crown Road, as it exists today, actually stops at our city limit sign, our city limit line, gets picked up in Weatherford, and then continues on around the golf course. Which one's that? That's
West,
yeah, OSD goes around that and then gets picked back up again into our city limits. So we've had some preliminary discussions about straightening Crown Road out with the city of Weatherford. If we did any sort of work with them, I'd want to talk to them and see if they'd want to participate in a limited role in any sort of improvements over there.
well, what I'm hearing the most from is Squaw Creek, Kingsgate, and that hill. So,
The hill, I would almost, you're going to have to do that in concrete.
well, yeah,
You can't-
Kingsgate and Squaw Creek needs
if you
to
do-
be concrete. All major thoroughfares,
Yep.
I will not support anything that's not concrete.
Kings, right there, the water runs off so much, it just eats your asphalt up.
No, it's got to be
And
concrete.
it's not sustainable long term.
It has to be concrete.
Our budget, anybody, anything else?
So for roads, again, so for the roads that we funded this year that weren't completed by the county,
Yes.
that's rolled over to next year?
We spent, I spent that money on a drainage project over at Meadows Place.
And we got 100,000 for next year.
Yes, you have 100,000 for next year.
And the county was behind this year because of the rain. I think they'll
Right.
be able to help us this next year, which would
And-
have been a benefit to us.
I might be able to put more money into that 100,000 if y'all are interested in doing. If you're interested in adding anything else, I could put it in that road fund.
So you're saying if we go up above,
No, I'm saying I think I can put 100,000. I think I can put that in there. I don't know how much, but I could put a little bit more than 100,000 in there. I was just having this epiphany while we were
okay.
just talking about it, but if
So will that be part of
let me ask you,
what
let me ask you, would you have any objections if I increased the road fund to even maybe 15 or 20,000? Would you have any objections to me doing that?
115 or?
No,
No,
15 to 20,000 extra.
Right,
Would you-
making it 115 or
Yeah.
120.
Yeah.
Well, we already have a deficit. Where are you going to
Yeah,
take it from?
yeah, he's being creative.
Oh
So
my-
that'll
yeah.
be part of what you're working on and presenting with these.
If we're gonna take the dump truck out and put it in water where it needs to go, well, then your delta is now 15,000. We've got some other things in there that I can cut relatively easy. That leaves you pretty much at zero, but you're at 3.5. So when I add in the extra 25,000.
28.
When I add that extra in there, I can kick that into the road fund, into that 100,000. I can add that 100, the delta between.
Well, that's where I would like to see it go.
Well, that'd be
That's-
nice. So if we keep the tax rate the same, then we can put $28,000 more into the roads.
That's the question I was going to ask you, because you're going to have. I've got an M&O of 3.5. Anything above that,
I would definitely favor going to roads.
that's what I wanted to know.
And as far as planning goes, I'm ready to get a plan on those pretty soon,
Okay.
priority plan and.
If you do a GO, you have to have a uniform election date, which is, I'm just.
Well, I'm not even talking about the GO, I'm talking about the 100.
Oh,
That
okay.
we're, that's what I'm talking about, what
Oh.
roads we're gonna hit. The GO, no, that's a
Okay.
much
I see what you're
bigger,
saying.
yeah,
We're on the same page.
yeah.
So, and since Leo's prompted me, but, so any extra, right, there's a couple options. You put it in the roads, right?
Okay.
Which would reduce the wear and tear on the fire truck and reduce his maintenance cost, right? Or we put it in a savings account, draw interest, and get another fireman at some point in time in the future.
I don't know what kind of savings account you're
I know,
looking at
I
interest
wanna
on.
get on that one.
Well, we have to,
If you've got one of those savings accounts that I can put 28,000 in and get a fireman,
I want
we
in on
need.
that.
I've got some money to give you,
All right, anything else?
but I take your point.
Third, workshop is adjourned at 6:40. We'll convene at 7 PM. Thank you.
Great job. Thank you.